Hola and welcome to my How to Self-Care When You're Grieving video. Losing a loved one is hands down one of the most devastating things that can happen in life. Your life can have been perfectly happy one day and then tragedy strikes and your life will never be the same. Time gets divided into two parts: before your loved one's death and after your loved one's death. The grief that follows is cruel and relentless. The more you have loved this person or pet, the worse it is. To me, it feels like I've been shot through the heart with a 12-gauge shotgun slug, but somehow survived and am now dragging myself around with a huge, gaping, bleeding hole where my heart used to be. Let's be clear here. Emotional trauma is just as painful and depleting as physical trauma. Let's ask ourselves, what do we do when we're physically hurt? Well, we have to slow down or stop physical activity altogether and take care of ourselves so that we can heal, right? The same holds true for grieving a loss. Losing someone we truly love and was a big part of our lives is like an acute physical injury. About 20 years ago, I sprained my ankle really badly. They say that a bad sprain is much worse than a broken bone because it takes much longer to heal, and boy, did I find that out for myself. I still remember the excruciating pain that I was in when my ex-husband was driving me to the ER, and how I had to stay home with my leg up in an air cast for about 2 weeks. And then I had to go to physical therapy for months and months before I could finally walk without a limp. Well, I believe that the emotional trauma of losing a loved one is much worse than physical trauma because it takes much longer to heal. Years ago, I took a graduate course on death and dying where I learned about the 5 stages of grief. They are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. See the link in my description if you want to learn more about these 5 stages. Watching my videos, you know that I've experienced a great deal of loss in the past 6 years. So I can attest to having gone through all of these stages, which are not experienced in a linear fashion, by the way. So one does not necessarily follow the other, and you can go back and forth from different stages. One experiences grief in their own way. I want to point out that the way in which the stages manifest themselves in our life can vary greatly from one person to another, and also from one loss to another. For example, when my mother died, I was stuck in the depression stage for a long period of time, and it manifested itself in a heaviness that I felt, a lack of motivation to do almost anything, even things that I normally liked to do, a slowness, if you will, as if I was wading through a pool of molasses and I just had to do things slower. My father died just a year and a few months after my mother. I felt like my head was constantly in a fog. I had trouble concentrating and remembering things. My ex-husband died from suicide at the age of 47. I was in a state of shock that felt like emotional whiplash. It was physically painful, and I kept cycling through the denial, anger, and bargaining stages over and over again. Whatever stage of grief you're in, you will need to make a conscious effort to take care of yourself, because make no mistake, you have sustained a great injury and you need to treat yourself accordingly. Think about the way that you treat your child, your spouse, or even your pet when they're sick and have injured themselves. You're super nice to them and you give them that extra TLC, right? Well, that's how you need to treat yourself in this situation. In this short video, I'm going to give you 6 essential ways to self-care while grieving a loss, so make sure you watch until the end. Hola chicas poderosas, I'm Mari Rosas, and this is my YouTube channel, Chica Power, where you learn how to fall in love with yourself first. A minute here and ask a favor. If you like this video and find it helpful, please por favor hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can also ring the bell, that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to release those emotions. Don't try to keep them bottled up. Luckily, as women, we're raised to express our emotions freely. So cry as much as you need to cry, scream if you need to scream, punch some pillows if you need to punch something. Myself really don't like to cry in front of other people, with the exception of my daughter, my sister, my best friend, who have seen me cry plenty of times. So I usually try to let it all out as much as possible when I'm alone, so that it doesn't sneak up on me when I'm at work or in front of other people that I don't want to cry in front of. Just know that it is okay to cry in front of other people. You've just lost someone who meant the world to you, so it's gonna be expected that you will be emotional. Number 2 is take it easy. Don't expect too much from yourself. You aren't operating on full capacity here, so you shouldn't be trying to go above and beyond. If you had broken your arm, no one, including you, would expect you to cook a 3-course meal for the entire family, right? Well, you've just had your heart broken. That takes much longer to heal than a broken arm. You should try to simplify as much as possible. So maybe your holiday decorations won't be the talk of the town this year. Maybe you'll just put up a tree and a wreath on the front door, and that'll be that. Take some time off from work if you're able to. As much as possible, don't do things that you don't feel like doing, even if they're things that you normally enjoy. You've just lost someone who was a big part of your life, and it's going to take some time to get used to the new normal. Number 3 is accept help from others. I mention this because some of us have issues asking for or accepting help from others. I'm very guilty of doing that myself. If others offer to babysit the kids, cook for you, or help with stuff around the house, let them do it. They wouldn't be offering if they couldn't do this for you. Remember, you are injured. If you had broken your leg and your friend offered to go grocery shopping for you, you would accept, correct? You would probably do the same for your friend, or maybe you've already done that for friends or family in the past. So just lay aside the guilt and let your friends and family help you out. Number 4 is get some sleep. I can't stress how important this one is. There are many reasons why it's hard to sleep when we lose someone that we love. Not only has our life changed forever and we're distraught, but sometimes we have actually witnessed the death or found the dead body of our loved ones, and those images tend to haunt us when we're not occupied with something else. When my mother died, she had been on life support for 6 days following a heart attack. After having every possible test we could have done on her, we had to face the fact that she was brain dead and make that dreaded decision to take her off of the life support. She died surrounded by my sister, my father, and myself. I was glad to have been there for her, singing to her, holding her hand, stroking her beautiful silver hair. But it was still very difficult to see her go. I had trouble sleeping for a while after that. Getting enough sleep is essential, especially after losing someone that you love. Remember, I keep repeating this, but you're injured. So you're likely going to be somewhat irritable. You don't have that emotional bandwidth that you normally have at your disposal. And throw sleep deprivation on top of that, and it makes it much, much worse. Plus, you may be dealing with other grieving and irritable family members. And if you have children who have also suffered a great loss, you need to be well rested so that you can handle and deal with everything. Take some sleep aids if you have to, just temporarily until you're able to get some rest on your own. Melatonin helps me to fall asleep, but I know that it doesn't work so well for others. On occasion, if I really need to knock myself out, I will take half a dose of Benadryl to make sure I get a full night of uninterrupted sleep. There are other sleep aids that are out there that are non-habit forming, but make sure that you talk to your doctor before taking anything. Number 5 is do things to lift your spirits. Sometimes after we lose someone who meant the world to us, we don't feel like doing much of anything. That's totally okay. But you don't want to stop doing the things that you once enjoyed for too long. For me, grief often manifests itself in a lack of motivation to do anything that requires much effort. You may have to force yourself to do certain things. You'll most likely still enjoy doing those things, especially if they involve getting together with friends or others. Ask a family member or a friend to be your event planner to suggest different types of activities for you and to help motivate you to get out and do things. Number 6 is take care of your body. Exercise, eat healthy, drink water, and make sure that you go for regular checkups. When you're going through emotional turmoil, the last thing that you need are physical ailments to make things worse. But it's easy to forget if you're going through that grief fog that I described before. I mentioned that exercise is definitely one of my favorite ways to self-care because it releases endorphins in your brain, which makes you feel happy and gives you a lot more energy, which you definitely need when you're grieving a loss. Things slow down, go and pamper yourself. Get a massage, a facial, a mani-pedi, whatever makes you feel just a little bit better. Well, that's it for today, chicas. As you may already know if you've been watching my videos, I like to end each one with a refrán. A refrán is a wise Latina saying or adage, and my precious mommy was very fond of them. Today's nugget of wisdom is más vale prevenir que lamentar, which translates into it's better to prevent than to lament. And similar to the Anglican, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Self-care is a preemptive strike against exhaustion and, worst yet, a complete breakdown, which is the last thing you need when you've sustained an acute emotional injury like losing a loved one. Give yourself that extra TLC that you intuitively give to others when they are injured or hurt, chicas poderosas. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. And please, por favor, give me your questions and your feedback in the comments down below. I read and respond to them all. I also invite you to follow me on Instagram. You can find me at marirosas_chica power for lots more inspirational content. Besos y abrazos a todas. Hugs and kisses to all. Mwah.